All right. Welcome back. How you doing? Happy 4th of July weekend. Hope you're having a good one. It's the late show. Um, but man, we are pumped and full of energy tonight. Um, been away for a couple of weeks now. We had some family visiting and weekends were tough, but it's great to be back. And as you can see here on the table, gonna leave off, pick up, I should say, where we left off, which was working with this interior for our shepherd's hut. So, thanks for joining back on that. Thanks for coming back for, I guess this will be our third installment. Throw this up for a second just to kind of remind everybody what the initial concept was. Got you guys kind of zoomed in tonight, so come down a little bit. There we go. So yeah, we started this a couple episodes back, and now we're getting into the nitty gritty. It sort of started with this initial drawing of this structure, sort of an elevation drawing of this from the side, and gave us a concept. And then from here, we went to an interior layout drawing. So then we went to this, where we were kind of looking at a plan view, if you will, of this interior, the concept for an interior for this thing, with the idea that it's a round building, giving it a more futuristic edge, rather than being, say, rectilinear, although there's definitely plenty of right angles in this thing. But the concept was working off the round shape. So which causes some challenges actually too, because our rooms won't be perfect squares. It means that they're going to have walls that are curved, and making sure we kind of convey that. So it wasn't really my intention to make this like a super, I guess, tight drawing per se, or what we'll say is a really super detailed linear drawing. It was more just to get a foundation that we could then sketch over the top. So I'd say that is pretty much the phase that we are in now, which is the building part is drawn, the structure's drawn, that curved wall back there is kind of lightly blocked in. Still could move some stuff around, but I've got some basics. And then I think once I, kind of get a nice clean line on that, I'm going to do an overlay and probably just go in and freehand and draw and just enjoy the space. But I was thinking tonight, in addition to sort of finishing up a little bit more of a clean line art on this, was to maybe step out and do a little bit of furniture drawings, a couple of these freestanding pieces that might be in here. Do a few concept drawings for that, just quick stuff. And then maybe jump back in and do the finish. We'll see. I don't know. I didn't intend for us to spend this long detailing out infinite possible designs for every piece inside. It was just to give us an idea. So I don't know that I'll really get to the furniture this time. Maybe at another time, but we'll see. We'll just see how far we get tonight. I'm super glad to be back out here, though. It's been a little while. Good to see you. I hope everything is going well in your life. I hope those creative projects are coming along. I hope that you're getting a chance to draw and paint and model in 3D and sculpt and all those things, because those are our passions, right? Those are the things that keep us going. And let me tell you, they are our core, right? If you're here and you're watching this and you're interested in design and creating things and bringing imagination to life through the visuals that we create, then I know that this must be a passion you share with me. So anyway, welcome back. And if you're new, my name is Trey Gallaher, and I am a visual developer, an illustrator, a painter, and I'm actually an educator as well. I'm out here usually on the weekends, and this is my free time. This is my time to just kind of do what I spontaneously feel like, explore some ideas, and I just love it. I love being out here, and I love having you guys along for the ride. So if you are new to the stream, first thing I'd like to say is yes, my name is Trey Gallaher. You can check me out. I think some of my info right here above me, I don't know if you can see right above me here. is my contact information, my website, Facebook, Art by Trey Gallaher, and Instagram, um, Trey Gallaher. So all the Trey Gallahers, as we like to say. And feel free to follow me there and see more of my work, see what else I do. And then also I wanted to point out that I started a Discord channel to go kind of along with the stream here as a way to sort of continue the conversation, a place for those that like to follow this stream to send messages and get alerts when I'm going to go live. I'm a little bit inconsistent, have to be honest. I'm also an art dad, so us art dads, our time is precious, of course, and I have a younger one, so for me, these years are absolutely the best, and that comes first. So sometimes I can't be out here as consistently as I want to be, but if you were on the Discord channel, I ping it when I'm going to go live, so you can always get that and jump on and see what we're doing for the night. I encourage you to draw along. Grab something to draw with that you like to draw. A pencil, pen, whatever it is that you like. You don't even have to draw if you don't want, though. If you're somebody who's not a drawer and you just want to watch, you enjoy watching people do their thing. I'm going to do my thing, at least for some fun here for a couple hours. And I encourage you to hang out. Maybe put me in the lower corner of your computer if you've got me on one screen and you've got other stuff you're doing on other screens, that's fine. Keep me in the background. It's totally great. Lots of dialogues going on this channel, though, I will say. And that what I mean by that is because we're talking design, because we're talking process, because we're talking evolution of ideas, those are things that I'm speaking to as I'm working on it. This is the educator part of me. I've been teaching for over 20 years at the college level, and I'm used to this kind of thing. So I like to have conversation about design. So if you want to chime in and you want to say, hey, loving that, or even if you're say like, did you think about this, or how do you do that, or do you have any recommendations, chime in. I like to keep the chat open. I do look over occasionally and to see if somebody has left me a message. So I do try to keep an eye on it, but sometimes I'm get working and I forget to look over. So be patient. I'll try to get to a question or something that you may have, or just say hi. I love people coming by saying hi as well. So pull up a beverage. That's another thing. Tonight I am double fisting it. Okay, tonight it's gonna start off with coffee because I had a little bit of coffee left after I had some food a little bit earlier, and so I'm finishing off my coffee, which is going to pump me up and keep me going on this total energetic feeling I got right now. I think I've been away for 2 weeks, so I'm kind of excited to be back out and drawing again. But this will give me some energy to keep going. I love my coffee. It's my coffee. But then when that cup is done, I actually have a freshly brewed hot cup of Tazo Melody Mint Tea. Actually, I think it's just Tazo Mint, but it is a Melody. It is the best mint tea out there. I've tested almost all of them, and for me, I love this. So if you're a tea person, awesome. If you have recommendations, throw me some recommendations. Let me know what you're drinking tonight. This is our tea time. And maybe you're drinking an adult beverage. Maybe it's morning time when you're watching this. If you're catching this on the rerun, on the video, when these streams are done going live, they remain on Twitch for a second, about a week and a half or so, and then I move them over to my YouTube channel. So I suppose that'd be one more plug I would make. Would be if you want to catch any of my old streams, I keep them in their entirety over on my YouTube page. So obviously YouTube Trey Gallaher, you can check that out there as well. So I think I have almost all the streams out there that I've done. I think most of them are out there, and a few other little videos too. So you're welcome to subscribe there. But also follow me here at Twitch. So if you're here on Twitch, this is fun. I love it out here. I'm making some great friends, some good followers that are out there, and I'm following some other folks. So if you got a page you'd like me to check out, let me know, and I'll follow that as well. This is a completely free stream, so I don't, short of, following, I don't really have, anybody sponsoring or anything like that. This is just for the love, so at the moment at least. So welcome, pull up a beverage. Oh, one last thing. What are you listening to? For me tonight, it's like, what do I got on right now? I'm doing the hip hop, so you do what you want to do. For me, it's I'm doing what is this thing? This is off of whoa. Sorry. Just close my app, of course. I'm doing Zion. Actually, I think it's Zion I. Been around a long time. One of my Bay Area favorites. So I like the hip hop stuff, but sometimes I'm in a classical mood too. But I also like some metal every once in a while. But put on something that you like in the background. Because we do a lot of talk here, I don't want to be talking over music and then, of course, copyrights and stuff like that. We're here to talk about design, but feel free to put on something that you like, some blues, some jazz. You put on your own music, so you don't have to listen to my nonsense if it's not your bag. Okay, so there we are. Take a sip here. Oh, that is some Pete's coffee right there, ladies and germs. Major Dickinson, the Major D. Love this stuff. Just black, no cream, no sugar. You know, that's my jam. Keeping it the calories as low as possible. Besides, you don't have to buy all the other ingredients, the cream, the sugar, everything else. Okay, so back into it here. Where were we? So I believe we were talking about this being our floor plan here. I'll bring this back into shot here for a second. And we were concentrating. We had a variety of different rooms here: kitchen, pantry, locker room, shower, spa. This is the ground floor, by the way. We were kind of thinking there would be multiple stories, which we talked, just a little bit about last time. But we had like a third floor, we had a second floor, master bedroom, that kind of thing. But this is the ground floor, and we were talking about doing this front sort of entertainment room right here, which has this curved wall. It sort of faces north. So if you're looking over here on our compass, it faces north. And that would mean that, northern light is sort of coming in here. And then, of course, we have maybe a couch. This would be right off the entry, by the way. So maybe I'll write that here. I forgot to write that. So this would be sort of our entry. So you walk in through the double doors at the entryway, and you see some steps right down here to your left. And you sort of step into this room. There's probably two regular regular chairs, lounge chairs maybe, and then maybe sort of a couch that goes with it. Maybe a coffee table in the middle for snacks, beverages, whatever entertaining that might need to happen. And then, of course, a few other parts of the room was to be maybe a statue over here, a piece of art. This is a showcase room. This is the nice room. This isn't the office space or a bedroom that's getting used a lot. This is designed for entertaining and a little bit cleaner, classier look. Clean, not too busy. Over on the right side here, maybe talking about some sort of plant. And then this door here would lead into the dining hall. So inside this would be some sort of formal dining room. I was even thinking at one point, maybe I could push this door open, like take this wall out. That this wall maybe could push open and it would share with the dining room, but for the moment, we're going to keep them separated so that this could be a nice clean dining room and then this would be sort of an entertainment room. Not sure. Also, one thing to point out here was that I was going to have a screen sort of on this wall, some sort of display. This is sci-fi, right? So we're talking about something that they'd probably need to watch something on a screen, and technology would either project onto the wall or super thin screen or something that would use the wall for a display. So I figured that there couldn't be too much on this wall, that I would leave this open for that display. Looking at this space now, and these are the kind of things that you think about once you get into the space, is you start to see these spaces and you're thinking, what else could go there? And what I'm thinking is that maybe there might be a bookshelf or something over here on this wall. Maybe a low-lying rack over here. So I don't know, but I don't want to clutter it because I want it to feel nice and open. The other thing is we're getting this gorgeous view looking out the window here. And this window is going to give us a view looking north. There'd be some canyons and some mountains over there. But it's also kind of conveying the thickness of the wall. So you're going to get a little bit of this tunneling kind of quality, as a cut through of the window. The other option would be to just remove this whole wall and make it clear, or the ability to kind of become clear or not clear. Maybe this is a little too vintage to have a cutout window, but I like that. I mean, for me, that's what makes it feel like spacey. Little sci-fi is that I get that sort of bubble window like you would from a vehicle, right? So for me, that's why I had that view. Plus, it gives a sort of a portal, kind of looking outside. I don't know. Truthfully, sci-fi in the truest sense would probably have the technology to make the whole wall be transparent, like and the whole wall would just be transparent. But you know, I want to draw this. I want to convey a little bit more of the materials, and those are things that would be really tough to convey. So I think I can do an equally sci-fi, spacey kind of view here, and then a little bit of these bubble windows too, which again was sort of inspired from these circle designs that you see here. So this is a little bit of that front window, circle windows, sort of like skylights. Everything's like a bubble window that uses natural light from the outside. Maybe another one over here in the office. By the way, this is the front door. So if you're locating yourself, front door, that is, on our design over here, that is here. So that view that you saw is probably looking more from over this way, right? That's the view of the outside sketch. Front door looking this way, and that's sort of what we're seeing here, right? All right, so you walk in there and you see that entryway, and then you're right into the space. Now, we talked about putting the cameras, and I talked about a couple different cameras here that I was thinking about where I would put the point of view. So this is the one that I'm going with, which is this view as far back as I can that sort of conveys the room in the widest sense. And that's really where I'm at. Okay, so I'll put these off to the side, and then I will keep those handy for reference. But I'm gonna solidify a few lines here, and then dive into cleaning them up. And then I'm going to probably do an overlay of some marker paper, and then probably ink and draw and do a few other things. This is my base drawing. Also one other thing that we did last time, just to remind you of where all this stuff came from, is that I had a construction drawing a little bit underneath to help me with the perspective. Perspective is always challenging for a lot of folks. I love it. I love perspective, because perspective, if you know your perspective, it's the one thing that's going to make your drawings look a whole lot better and more believable in terms of the dimensional space. So I had to, in order to kind of get to this point here where I could start blocking objects in the room, I had to start with a foundational sketch like this, which I blocked in with vanishing points, which I had to take out a little bit wider on my paper just to give me something that's a wide enough view, a little bit of sense of scale of people in here. And then from there, we did this back over the top where I started blocking in walls with that perspective in place. All right, now, points of interest, I think, to be aware of about this room, because these are the kind of things that come up, right? So one is over here, this is the vertical ending of the wall, 90 degrees, okay? But what you don't maybe, or you forget about very easily, is that this is a rounded building. It's got a curve to it, right? Going back to our design, is that we had this curvature to the wall. It's all built on a sort of sloping curve like that. And so it isn't a right angle wall, even though inside we might start to build it that way. So what you'll notice is this little extra piece here is the curvature of the building. And that's what this is. This is the curvature, the outer curvature of our building, which means that if this is the height, the maximum height, this is where the wall is sloping down. It's sloping down and kind of going away. It's going away from us like that. So I have to kind of keep that in mind. So any of these big objects that could potentially run into a sloping wall have to be moved in just far enough away from the 90 degree, vertical alignment. So there's this little gap here, which I have to keep in mind. That line, by the way, continues all the way around back here. Okay, all the way around, base of the stairs, So then this second line back here is where the actual corner meets, is actually meeting the wall. Okay, that's where the floor and the wall meet, is actually at that curvature. So this space is going to become kind of unusable, to be honest with you. That's not going to be a very usable space. Like, a person can't hunker down and walk back into these spaces like this. So that is an extension of the stairs hitting the ground over here, because this is where the stairs hit the ground, right? And then this continues out here to where it hits the corner. Now, I'll actually remove the tape so you can kind of see it's actually, in this case, going to meet off the paper. But that is very quickly coming back in. So that's sort of what that's doing over there on both sides. A little bit of an elevation here. So there's this sort of walk down into the space. Now, a few of the objects that we started talking about here were a chair. We talked about the couch, sort of these are comfortable lounging stuff. There was a couch behind here, which I originally had kind of blocked in, and then I put a wet bar. The wet bar was originally something like if you were going to make drinks for people. It's a classic, it's very classic, but I think I'm actually going to move the wet bar in a little bit. Having it right up against the stairs feels very odd to me. It just feels weird. So I'm thinking we have a little space to move it in, so I might move it away, come in a little bit. Because that way, maybe I could put a plant here, there could be a little wastebasket, something like that, but it just seems like this wet bar needs to really move in a little bit. It's also kind of blocking our view, honestly, right here. We're not able to see the space very well because the bar is there. So I think I'm going to extend a few of these lines back in both directions, lightly draw it in. That might convey that there's another chair there. I also have this kind of coffee table, which we were talking about here, filling in the space. So will allow us to see that a little bit. And then, of course, above the coffee table, I have up here on the roof sort of the little soffit circle where some of these, maybe, I don't know, chandeliers, these could be microphones, they could just be interesting visual chandelier, I guess, sort of like a futuristic chandelier, right? They could just be interesting things to look at. It might project some light down. Could be a really interesting design there. Now, I also have these soffits here, which were just for basic lighting, which I figured they would sort of project light down, maybe a little bit onto the sculpture, a little bit in here, and then this one would put a little light into the back of the room, the edge of the plant maybe, here, and then maybe even one, I'm thinking, back over here on this far corner of the wall, because if I had a little one back here, that could maybe illuminate a bookshelf, or maybe I need to put another one somewhere right in here, because I am going to have, I'm thinking about this bookshelf maybe being over here. Not a big one, but a small sort of library maybe. A few interesting books. So I'm thinking about something like that. Plus it might give us another little platform to have some other artwork. Maybe some models, some ships, sculptures, something like that on top. We'll see. It's a possibility. So clean up first, and that's a little summary of what we were thinking with the initial design. And now I'm just going to clean up these lines, do an overlay, and then I'm thinking I'm actually going to maybe try some markers. I think I'm going to try markers tonight if I get there. It's nighttime where we are, but whenever this is that you're watching this. Okay, so I'm going to sharpen up here a little bit. Hope you're doing well out there. Welcome. I need to leave that out a little bit longer. You know, I don't know if you've ever looked at one of these sharpeners, but they actually have these gaugers which tell you like how far to leave out your lead, which you can use too. These are really good when you're doing clean line art like this. And I think right now I'm only using HB lead in this thing. Sometimes I use 2H so that it's even cleaner. A few tools. See, I was using a triangle for any hard edges like this. So I think I'm going to reiterate. There we go. The next one will be down actually on the ground. So the next one is level. All right, I think some of these construction lines don't necessarily need to be there, and I am going to move this bar back a little bit farther along this wall. Again, I'm going kind of using some straight edges because, hey, there's nothing wrong with using a ruler with what it is. It's a straight edge. It's perfect. But I'm not intending to do anything that is that measured. So I'm going back with that line a little bit. So finding my lines. I need to bring back the thickness here. I didn't really have a design for my wet bar. This is just mostly a transparent view to know there is a wet bar. Again, if we get some time, maybe do some furniture drawings. Might be kind of fun just to figure out what this bar might actually look like for reals. But just so you know, like this is an additional design to what started as a character design, and we started world building really with the idea that we're building out this character's world, and this is his home. This is the shepherd's home. And yeah, a shepherd. You know, what are we talking about here? A shepherd. We were talking about our shepherd, which you can go back to episodes. I think it was 8, 9, 10, 11 from season 2, last season. And you can kind of see the evolution of that character, how we got that character. So that'll tell you a little bit about who the shepherd is first and how we designed that character built around his occupation. And that is that he transports, livestock. So that's his job. He transports livestock. And that means he's used to being in wide open spaces by himself. And that's his life. He's a shepherd, on the go, always working, kind of a deal. Okay, there's my corner. Actually, I think I was a little bit not straight up and down on my line here. There we go. All right. So he's a person who lives in a remote planet where he transports this livestock. Now, I don't know if he's transporting the livestock in space. I think that's the part we were not really figuring, is that he would transport livestock from this planet to maybe a spaceport or a city that he was conducting business with somebody who would be waiting for his livestock. Maybe it's some rare form of, you know, alien livestock, which we actually designed one idea for the livestock as well, which is a creature we were kind of experimenting with, which I don't know, that's somewhere around episode 12. It was around 12. And that's the livestock we were thinking, something like that. Something sort of like a beastly that is tough to wrangle. And that's what he is. He's like a wrangler. He's sort of like a sci-fi cowboy, I guess. But not cowboy in the sense of like sheriff and outlaws, more like, you know, a shepherd. Truly. Like he's got a flock. He transports these creatures to where they're going to be picked up. Okay. I think I've got just about my lines figured out here. And then I can start doing a little bit of cleanup and get rid of the lines I don't need. Okay. So anyway, his house here would be someplace in the foothills. And we talked about that he sort of lives in the foothills of a nearby city in a valley. So there's sort of a valley where there's a city and maybe a river that runs through, a watershed of some sort, and he's in his house overlooks this valley, but he is remote. He's up in the hills. He's not a city guy. He likes to be away from people. He likes his animals. He knows how to deal with livestock. The rest of it is not stuff he probably enjoys being around very much. Animals, predictable. Humans, maybe not so much. So this house is comfortable. He makes a good living. It's not huge, but it's functional. Does what he needs it to do. Okay, I'm going to lighten this line just a little bit. Okay, so okay, so you can kind of see that this is where that wet bar might be. All right. And I'm thinking, I'm thinking about the scale. By the way, let me show this because we did do the human scale underneath here. Lift this up for a second. So one of the things that we kind of figured out is the scale of a human if they kind of stepped down and moved away. So they probably got a little smaller. This might be a little big, but I did follow a character over here and followed this line to tell me how big they would be here. So if this is how big they are against this back wall, this is how big they are here. So looking at the scale of a person here, right? Maybe this bar needs to go up a little bit. Most counters are about waist high, so maybe I got to come up here a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to come up just a little bit. Figuring that the waist is probably someplace. There we go. Again, always good to check against the human scale. So one of the first things you want to do when you're plotting out a space like this is you got to figure out how big people are, right? That's why, having a sense of the human scale will tell you how big things were. And I think that feels a little bit better to me. Okay. One more line here. Boop. There we go. Okay. That's good. So that's in place. That feels pretty good. Get a little bit of a sharper point on this guy again. Hope you're doing well out there. What kind of cool projects are you working on? Let me tell you, we are now seeing many signs of life opening up again after this whole last year of COVID, but we're not out of the woods yet. But I can say that it is nice to be out and moving around. At the school I teach at, we're actually back on ground. Classes are not back on ground yet, but staff is, and faculty is, so and in administration. So we're actually kind of moving back to prepare ourselves. So I don't know what your work life is like, but people are starting to return, and some signs of life. I got to move this thing over. This is killing me here. Moving that piece of tape over. There we go. Oh, yeah. I figured that this wet bar here would be a little bit retro. Okay. Maybe some sort of bin. Okay. So originally we had one of two chairs. So I guess now that we moved the bar here and there's a little bit of this wastebasket or something right here, that there's this other chair here, which I think I took out originally, but now I'm thinking I may actually want to put it back in now. It's nothing. I'm going to take my watch off for a second. Actually, it's my Fitbit. officially in the Fitbit age group now. Which, if you're a parent, and you're into that age where you're a parent, you start paying attention to your health, if for no other reason than your children. Trying to stay healthy for the kiddos. Whoa. I have an ellipse here. I suppose if I were really going to do this perfect, I'd probably pull out my ellipse template. But I'm in the end, I really don't want to spend that much time being that perfect. This is just sort of an interior concept, which I could render a couple different ways. So for me, as long as I got the structures in place, that's all I really need. Okay, so coffee table there, wet bar there. Let's block in another one of these pieces of furniture here. And I'm thinking about remembering horizon line 2. Might drop that in here just a little bit. This horizon line back there. Giving myself a little bit of a squared off foreshortened base. Again, you don't necessarily have to be this accurate, but later on, you might thank yourself later for having this here. And since this is just my foundation drawing, I'm going to give myself the extra reference points. So there's a chair. Nice part again about perspective. It really will never steer you wrong. It will help you make your designs look like way more proportionally accurate and scale and a few of those other things. So I'm kind of blocking in this cube because basically that's sort of what this is made out of, right? Is a cube. So I'm kind of going with this like curved they're almost kind of round like shapes. So we'll just kind of see the back of it there if I even decide to keep it. I don't know. Originally by the design, I think I was going to have it there. I'll lighten up on a few of the perspective lines just to stay clean. Okay, so piece of furniture there. I'll darken in these. Kind of space age. Welcome. If you're just joining, we're in the middle of a block-in interior space design for a futuristic dwelling of a personal nature. This is a person's residence, I should say. Futuristic residence. So a little bit of furniture there. Here's one that would be behind here. We've got our coffee table sticking out there a little bit. And I was thinking about what would a shepherd or a person who is shepherding for a living have in their house. Probably stuff dealing with the landscape. You'll notice I just checked my perspective there a little bit. So it's going to be clean, kind of futuristic, minimalistic, but at the same time, I'm figuring this guy loves, or this gal, I suppose, we don't really define yet whether this is a male or a female herder, but we'll say that with technology that just about anybody who knew their animals, knew their creatures and how to handle them, that physical strength or size may not be a huge important point. But this shepherd would enjoy a good living, tough living, but a good living, gets paid well, so he has his nice or her nice or their nice domicile, and it's sort of designed to resist weather and the elements, but it's in the hills, it's in the mountains of what is otherwise a probably higher elevation, desolate, so it's not heavily wooded. It's a bit rocky, maybe not sandy, but we'll say rocky. Not a ton of trees. So harsh weather conditions. So it's almost a fortress. But inside, we're getting this really kind of comfortable, futuristic, takes you out of the wilderness and makes it comfortable. But what does a shepherd have in their home, right? What would they have in their home that would really define their interests and show what they're into? Well, they know their profession, right? So they obviously know their profession. Then that has been a passion of theirs, something they have pursued most of their life. So, but maybe some other tastes, art, culture. We want something that conveys the futuristic look of things. So I don't know. I'm thinking maybe up here on the, if we did a bookshelf over here, right? Like let's just say that this space back here was actually a bookshelf, okay, which is really what I was thinking about doing in this space. I'll block this in a little harder. That it would also provide it's a curved wall, so this is a little bit of a curved bookshelf, right? And then it probably goes back a little bit, then hits the curvature of the wall, then follows this curved line that we have here. These are a little bit curved, but you're not going to see the curvature because it's close to the horizon line. But the more you move away from the horizon line, the more you start to notice the curvature. But maybe up on top of this, there's an example of the animal that this guy herds, which you can look in our earlier designs there of what the herder's animal looks like. And it's a little bit like a bull. A little different though, but I'm going to put a little bit of a silhouette of an animal up here. So this would be like an example of that. If you happen to notice or had been following along and knew something more about this guy, then you'd know that this was maybe kind of a model of the animal that he does. So this could be like kind of a cool miniature. All right, moving along. Got that in place. It had these kind of horn things, and I'll have to look back at my own drawing because honestly, I don't remember as much more detail. But I think from this distance, we probably wouldn't need much more than that. Okay. All right. Wet bar. Another chair, love seat, sculpture. I don't even know how the hell I came up with this, except that I just wanted something kind of abstract, maybe somewhat alien shaped looking. And again, these are just off the top of my head designs. If I really wanted to do a little bit more, I could probably, here, I'm going to move my tape over. Boop. All right. So this could be some sort of cubist figurative thing. Maybe it's got some sort of all right. So you can barely see it over here, but there would be these little elevational changes in the stairs over here. I don't know how much I need to convey those a lot, so I'm just going to do a little bit of these since of the stairs ending over there. All right. What else we got? What else we got? This would be some sort of plant life, maybe, that just general greenery. Like the idea that maybe some of these leaves kind of block the window over there so we can see a little bit of that silhouette break. Ones at the top are kind of reaching a little bit more. All right. jumping back over to the plan view. So we were talking about this door. So there's a little gap here where the wall is sloping down. So this is the last bit of vertical ceiling space. So we figured that the door is right there, which I'm figuring is going to be somewhere right about in there. Okay, so if that's the case, all right. I think last time with the walls, we decided to raise the walls just a smidge. So this ends up becoming the new corner. Not that I necessarily would need to draw that, but okay. Hope you're doing well out there. Welcome. Sip of coffee. My last sip before I make the switch over to tea. What are you guys drinking out there? Anything good? Okay, that's enough of the excitable stuff. Now we'll take a dive into the delicious, soothing, relaxing mint. All right. This is also tea talk. So I'm Trey. That's a T. It's also tea for what kind of tea you're drinking. So if you got any good recommendations, hit me up. Hit me up. Again, a little plug for the Discord channel. If you like what you're hearing here and you want some feedback or give me some feedback, which I would gladly appreciate, or be notified of when I'm going to go live, you can click in the About there and you can follow me on Discord. And I'd love to have you. I'd love to hear your comments. I'd even give you some feedback. If you drop some work there or wanted some feedback on a piece, I'd gladly give it. But yeah, feel free to join. Keep up on the latest. I don't post there a lot, but anything important or anything I feel relevant to share, I'll put there for sure. All right. Where are we at? I'm going to sharpen up one more time. I'm going to try to do this window a little more accurately here. My window was sort of loosely sketched in last time, but so I'm going to start with this little guy over here. Now, the thing to remember about this window and this back window is they are not perfectly straight up and down, so they're not perfect circles. They're kind of elliptically, they're sort of little flattened out because of the perspective. They're at an angle, which because of the angle, the thickness of the wall is going to be conveyed through what side I'm going to see. So from where we are and relative to our horizon line, which you remember our horizon line is back here, that anything that's our eye level. So if it's below that, we're going to definitely see it. So I think I'm going to put the thickness of the wall here. And it's also not aiming straight out. It's aiming up a little bit. So I'll show you back here on this outer drawing that we were doing. These windows kind of aim up, right? So they're aiming up a little bit because of the slope. Minor detail, but it does affect maybe our angle that we're looking at them. So a little bit of a view out there. I'm going to block in my guy here, or my person, for scale, just to kind of remind myself. So I can kind of figure that, you know, how big that person gets over here inside. And what else we got here? This back wall. It's the same thing. I'm kind of at a funky angle here, and because of the camera, I'm not rotating my art, which I might otherwise do. I might otherwise kind of turn this thing so I could draw it, but given that I'm on camera and I'm also zoomed in, I don't know if you guys can tell in this episode, but we're zoomed in here. And to get all this kind of carefully orchestrated, I had to kind of tape down and make sure that I stay on camera and don't mess up any of my settings. So I'm not exactly able to as freely draw this thing as I might do normally, but okay, nice ellipse. Okay, let's clean that up a little bit. That's not a bad curve. How you guys doing? Doing good out there? Hope you're working on your passions tonight with me. Thanks for hanging. Glad you're here with me. And even if you aren't catching this live, I'm still glad you're here. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Generally out here weekends. It's about the only time I have for the free stuff. I like that better. Might have to narrow my bookshelf there a little bit. And I think maybe I'm showing too much of the side there of that bookshelf. It's going to go back a little. Maybe it's a little more. Because it's sort of following this line, right? So maybe a little narrower. I don't want to crowd that space. A little sharper. All right. Not bad. Okay. It's a big circle. I could use my French curve, I suppose. I do have a little bit of a French curve here, but I don't know if I can. I need something with a little more. My boat curves, the bigger ones. And I had one over here. What the hell I did with it? Great. Okay, who knows where the hell that went, but that's okay. All right, so let's see. So we're looking up here. We're looking up here, so this is going to have some thickness to the wall. I'm kind of paying attention to that thickness of the wall there. Thickness to the wall. It's kind of aiming up a little bit. Probably aiming up a little bit there. Merge that up a little bit better. Okay, same thing on the other side. But given that our view is kind of looking out there, this side we're getting a little bit more. A little bit less maybe on this side. Okay, so sort of aiming up, right? This is sort of. Which would give me a vanishing point. It's like a slope calculation. You'd figure out a vertical vanishing point up here. And then maybe I can give myself a straight edge, kind of do it. These are parallel to the horizon line. Maybe kind of aiming slightly off of center. So this would be center halfway between, a little bit off and straight up. So I'm going to call this my vertical vanishing point, which is kind of technically what is happening here. So it's sort of like, that's a sloping edge. So it'll help tell me maybe how much of the thickness I am seeing over here. That's rotating out of this, out of view, because it's aiming up. So it's kind of going up, which means it's probably up here somewhere, out of sight. Okay. All right. I think we're about ready for that overlay. I think I just wanted to kind of reaffirm where the edge of the doorway starts, which is basically this line. This is the back wall line there, which is the corner. And we know again that there's this slope, right? And that's the same thing, by the way, that's happening over here, which I think we determined would meet up off here. So it's kind of, and I'm okay if I don't show all of that. I just need to show it on one side to convey the curvature of the room. But I do need to keep eyes on where that wall meets. Okay. And a little reference of where the vertical wall meets, because that's basically going to come around over here as well. All right. I need it to be dark enough that it will be seen through the overlay paper. Wet bar. So I can clearly see those. Maybe I'll actually lighten up a few of these perspective lines that I used for the furniture, just so that I can see the furniture. Can always go back to this sheet underneath if I need it. All right. Oh, the ellipse on the ceiling. I think I needed to flatten this out a little bit. A little soffit lighting. This one should probably go back a little farther, to be honest. Maybe one over here for the bookshelf. Okay. Oh yeah, one more thing. Basic pieces of furniture blocked in. Screen, display screen on this wall. Now, I'm probably not going to use it, but I'm going to have it here just in case. So if there was a screen, I would kind of know that it would be here. So let's go with this. Now again, I showed this a little bit earlier on the plan view, but this is on the facing wall. This is on the facing wall if there was going to be a display, a movie screen, something along those lines. It would be on this wall facing here. We're seeing through it. So probably someplace over here. All right, now the cool part is we've got this foundation drawing in place. So now we can do an overlay and just freeform it, be a lot looser. Don't need to have all these construction lines that I've been a little more careful with. I can just wing it because I always have this drawing underneath. You know, does every environment drawing require this level of detail? No, but you do have to have a good foundation there, so that if you want to do variations and sketch over the top, I could do various overlays and do different styles of furniture, different textural elements that I want to draw over the top, which is very fast to do by drawing, whereas if you were 3D modeling all those textures, it could take a little bit longer, right? This is the one thing where, you know, drawing still has a little bit of an edge, is that we could just do those textures a little bit faster than, you know, modeling with a little bit of textures, which is getting very good, by the way. But freeform, out of the brain drawing texture is pretty fast But if I've got the framework here, if I've got this framework here, then I can do all kinds of different finishes and basically get any kind of texture and look that I want on this thing, because I have a foundation that I can always go back to and do another overlay and just redo it again with a different kind of lighting, a different kind of, you name it. Just change those things intermittently. So, and always a good refresher too, just perspectively, you know, reminding yourself of the importance of those things. This is why perspective is so important. And not just because I'm a perspective teacher, but I actually believe in it, because that is what has given me the foundation of drawing, is that perspective. All right. I think we are ready, folks. Let's see what we can do here with an overlay. All right. Just give myself a little bit of a couple of reference. Okay, I have my reference bullet point here too. Okay. Let's do it. Plan view, initial sketch, nearby for feel, texture, whatever. And then now we're going to do an overlay. So again, I'm just using some basic marker paper. This isn't even expensive stuff. I would say this, I think this is recycled. It's a Canson recycled marker paper. You could use the better stuff, but it's expensive, honestly. And if I personally can't tell a huge difference between the professional grade marker paper and the recycled. To be honest, there's not a huge difference. For me, maybe somebody else feels differently, but it's semi-transparent, so I can obviously see my drawings underneath, which is going to be great. Save me lots and lots of time. And then I can go ahead, just tape this down. Also, in case you don't remember, we mark the front side of the marker paper, because not all marker papers are marker paper on both sides. You get one side. The side facing up in the pad is the side that has the marker stuff. So I'm putting my X here just to remind myself this side is the marker side. Marker papers are not always the same. In fact, usually marker paper isn't double-sided, because they have to do something to the paper to make it resist the moisture of the alcohol. So where's my tape? There it is. I'm going to tape down here. Okay. Okay. Now, I don't know if you guys can see that. Can you see that through there? So if I press a little harder, maybe you can see some of these lines coming through, but I now have that underneath, right? So that's my reference lines. I'm going to move this off to the side so my tape doesn't get in the way. Okay, now what to start with? What to start with? Well, I'm going to go with a High-Tech C, which is a very, very clean black technical pen. It's a ballpoint, but it's one of the best ones, High-Tech C. I could go with my gel pen, which is pretty good too, my Zebra, but I think for the moment I want something clean but not real thick and heavy. So I could go with the High-Tech C, or, you know, maybe I'm thinking about this wrong. Maybe that might be good for detailing. So maybe what I'll do is actually, now that I think about it, As soon as I say that, I'm going to jump over maybe and do like my micron. Actually, it'll be a little drier. I think it would cause me less issues down the line. Let's see what I got here. Of course, you think I'd just have this all laid out before I got started, but yeah, not. So I also have, I guess I have some a shade layer here too, which I could use for some finer tip. They're slightly different in color. Okay. All right, what else do we need? Maybe a beveled edge. If you're going to ink a line, you don't want to use a ruler that's flat or like a triangle that's flat against the surface, because you could drag it away and leave a little bit of a line. God, I haven't used these for a while. Okay, still good. Nice. So here we go, bottom of the stairs. I'm going to go from here, and I'm basically aiming out to there. I'm going to remember to kind of stop there and there. And I'm going to give myself a couple of clean lines for the wall first. Okay. Okay, nice clean line there. I've got a little bit of these verticals. Putting some little dots to help me see it. The other thing you can do, people used to do, I'm using a very long ruler. I should probably switch to something smaller, but I need something beveled. I don't know if I have a smaller beveled ruler close by at least. I have one, but I don't know if I have one. I could try this thing. This is beveled, so you can see that this has this little bevel edge. If you don't, the ink gets caught underneath your triangle. It's also see-through, which that's a real advantage to have it see-through. Not just the name of the brand, actually, which I really like. They make good drafting supplies. Okay, I'm going to speed up my process by not having to go to the vanishing point so much. Kind of put my dots down to help me. And I'm doing these a little cleaner because this is basically a render now. And let's see if I can see over here a little bit. There's a reference point I need to have. So we're going to say like right. We said that was going to maybe wrap around over there, but I'm going to put a dot there. Okay, here we go. This is the edge of this step now. Now my dots are darker or dried a little bit, so I can come back in and, you know, when you ink, one of the things you become a little sensitive to is that you give it 2 seconds to dry. Maybe give it a quick little so that it doesn't smear. There you go. All right. Slight gentle blow. Keep these as clean as possible. These kind of have to be, right? These are the perspective lines. These are the ones that are going to show if they're wrong. So they've got to be a little bit more precision based. Other stuff you can maybe freehand a little bit more, but these are long, straight perspective lines that kind of have to be. There we go. All right. What else? Maybe this. There we go. Let's do the same thing over here. There we go. Front corner. Again, the big wall structures have to be straight. Good steady hand. All right. So I got my wall base. Those just tuning in. We've got a base room construction penciled in here lightly in perspective lines with there's underneath this a perspective driven one a little bit more. So now we're into like doing some finishes, a little bit of set dressing. And from here, go. A little bit of the curvature of that wall there. And again, I'm going to show a little bit of it back here. Right, there's that back wall. There we go. It's going to continue over to this side, but I'm going to let some of it kind of disappear. Now, let's start blocking in some of this furniture. All right, what else would be good? Oh, maybe the ceiling wall. Ceiling line. So again, ceiling line's a little bit. Just giving myself a reference point. Really sucks though because if I weren't on camera and I weren't trying to do this on stream, I would be turning my paper to give myself a better curvature, but I'm doing this freehand and I'm doing this on camera, so beg your pardon here. There we go. Keep it light for now. And a little bit of the back wall here. I should be practicing. You know, one good thing to do. Get that full arm. You're using the full arm, right? You want to draw from the shoulder. You don't want to try to draw with your hand. This is too short of a distance, right? And you don't want to draw from the elbow either. You want to draw from the arm, and it's like dead arm, like you're just dragging your arm. But, you know, this is where having the coffee first was probably not a great idea when I knew I had to ink something. You know, give yourself a little practice there. Practice is good. Okay, that's enough. I just need some reference points. All right. So I got my steps, stepping down into the room. Let's go ahead and take care of what else we got. Maybe I'll do the windows here, since I'm doing the curved surfaces. Oh, another thing too, I was thinking, it's different for everybody, and I've heard different people say different things. I find it easier to pull a line like towards me, pull, rather than pushing a line away. I find it easier to pull with more confidence versus a push. I don't know. I feel like a push is tends to waver a little bit more. But I've heard other people say that it doesn't. It's just up to the individual. So I don't know how many of you push, how many of you pull. But for me, I find pulling is a little bit easier. So there's that window. Okay, so a sense of a window there, a sense of a window there. Let's hit the, what else could we do? Before I start doing any furniture. My little soffits. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. Okay, this bookshelf, I still feel like this might be... This would have to be like a custom bookshelf because the thing would be straight up and down in the front, curved in the back. So it would literally be designed for the room, for that curvature of that wall. That was a terrible line. I'd end up having to fix that one a little bit later. That was not a smooth line. All right. Okay, the coffee was definitely not a great idea. All right. What else we got here? Got my ellipse on the ceiling. Which, by the way, I think could be a little flatter. Okay. Coffee table. Not going to do too many interior lines, I think. Some of this stuff might be behind my wet bar here. Which, no joke, I'm kind of regretting that I put it right in front there. But maybe I can kind of imply. Some dotted lines could also show transparency. I've got my last lounge chair. Not sure how much of that will show, but we'll convey that it's behind there. Okay. Some straight edges. All right. Inking a few more points here. You got to get the straights straight. I think people's eyes can be more forgiving on curved lines, but you can't be too forgiving on something that your brain knows has to be straight. All right. Looks pretty good. All right. Pretty good. Pretty good. Not bad. All right. Locking in a little bit of the silhouette. And I'm going to let these plants not be too defined yet, because I think as I start to render with some markers and stuff, I may decide to change it up. So I'm looking for a few reference points, like okay, I got my plant over there. I wanted a little more dimension on this sculpture. All right. We talked about this chandelier having a few things coming down. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do here, but I'm going to put a few reference lines. Bevel side, make sure bevel side's down. Even felts can smear, especially if you get a little clunk of black there. All right. I did want to draw a little bit of a part of the outdoors here, so I'm going to jump back up to this layer and remember that and darken in my horizon line. So if he's in the mountains, something like that would be in the distance. Looks pretty good, pretty good. Oh, one other thing too, when you're doing a cutaway, and that's really kind of what this is to show the thickness of the wall. So showing the thickness of the interior wall kind of coming here. Now this side would be open. This side might have a wall, but I want to show us going through the wall. So I could do showing this cutaway right here like this. It gives them a sense that this wall in front does have some thickness to it. Okay. Got to put a little thickness on the wall here. Okay. I think we are ready for a little marker now. So here we go. How we doing? Stream health okay? Everybody good? All right. Let's take a little sip of that tea. Hold on. All right. So I'm using some Copics here. And I just have kind of a basic value set. A little bit of colors, but I'm not going to do colors on this. I think I might do a little bit of warm cool, but that would be about it. All right, let's see here. Always good to have your test strip here. I'm going in with something really light. Warms, cools. Now this is kind of the interior, so I want this to feel warm. And I know there's going to be some kind of shadows on this back wall, so I think I'm going to start by putting a little bit of tone on the back wall. Coming up from the bottom a little bit too. This is really light. This back corner is probably going to be one of the darkest spots in the picture. And this is so light. This is just like a 10%. So even if I did, go over something that I didn't really want to, I can work things up a lot darker. Put a little bit of contrast up against those windows to help the light come through. The idea is that this wall would be kind of see-through, but I could actually darken it in with some gray as well. Okay, let's talk ceiling now. Corners of the ceiling's probably also pretty dark. A little bit of bounce light, but still, creating this sort of dimension to the room. Going to be some sort of light fixture coming down here, so probably. If I can ever shade in the direction of the perspective, that can be a big help. But I think for now we're going to do that. Maybe a little bit up here in the foreground as well. Anything at this point that I'm feeling like is at least going to have a little tone to it, I'm going to hit it with this 10%. And I'm using this wide guy here, but not necessary. It was just the first 10% that I had. I don't usually do too many wide things beyond 10%. It's the only wide one I own is 10%. They're great for blocking in, but honestly, you get to this point where you can't do much with a big old wedge like that. Okay. I think it is time for the wet bar. Because now that I'm looking at this space in here, and I'm getting some shadows and some dimension to the room, I am definitely seeing that this looks very open, and I feel like there could be a little structure here. So I'm gonna block in this wet bar here. It's just as soon as I get a little bit of these tones in the back corner like that. Corners of the room, shadows in the corners, right? So just helping me get some perspective. Light from the outside is probably going to keep this pretty light, Maybe even kind of darker inside this soffit, actually. And I can kind of see where my bar is going to be, so I'm going to go ahead and I can see that underneath my little bit of shadow there. A little bit of ground shadow maybe around the bottom of these things. Just free-forming it now, just going with what I feel like needs a little tone. Probably some books and stuff. Side of the bookshelf. Anything with this tone at this point. This is the fun part, folks. This is where, because you did all that groundwork, now you can actually just roll. Just roll. Okay. I'm going to leave the floor, potentially with a little bit of the soffit lighting. So I'm going to switch to a different marker. And I have the same thing here. And I'm going to try to create a little bit of a soffit lighting here. The idea that these lights are kind of coming down in this direction, kind of illuminating things. Kind of help me out there a little bit. A little bit of the light's probably coming down here. Building it up slowly. got my figuring that some of the soffit's going to land on these steps. Okay. All right. What do we got here? Let's go back in and do that bar. If I can find my pen. There we are. Ooh, caught a little bit of white, a little bit of the I'm going to come up not quite as high on my bar here. Sorry, not showing you guys there. Okay. I have to draw this one line, and I'm going to do it in pencil until I do it because I didn't calculate it on the back, on the inside. It's going to be something like that. And I think I'm going to keep this thing mostly to a silhouette. I'm not going to get into detail. There we go. All right, I'm doing the silhouette because too much detail will only distract us from the stuff that's behind it. So it's one of those, I'm going to put the shape there, but I'm not going to put the kind of detail that would make us want to look at it. Because really, I want people to know it's there, but I'm not really trying to distract from looking at the rest of the room. So I'm just going to concentrate more on this as a shape, like a silhouette shape. Something like that. All right. I think that should do it. So I think what I'm going to do is throw some maybe what I should do. This might be cool. Maybe I could put some bottles up here. Kind of gives the a little bit of glassware. Yeah, I like that. Sort of like the whiskey bottles, the Martian juice. That's cool. That's I like the way that looks. So you can tell that it's a bar. A little bit of glassware over here. All right. Remember this back is going to be against the wall, so I might use a different tone for that. These are mostly clear. Hit them just a little bit. That looks pretty good. I'm wondering if I should try to zoom you guys in here a little bit. Drop over here to my camera controller. See if I can get in there a little bit closer. Here goes nothing. Can you guys see that? Let me go in a little more. Now that we only need this room, I guess there's no reason why. A little close. Let's try that. Okay. Make sure my autofocus doesn't like, yeah. That's exactly what I was talking about. Now we take off the autofocus. Now it should stay fixed. All right. I may have to raise this. But the cool part is, I've got my references underneath, but I almost don't need them now. I'm going to keep them there for a little bit longer, and I'm going to move everything up just a little bit for camera. Just so you can see me use the tools to render a little bit more. And at this point, all the mechanical stuff is done. All right, here we go. Let's go up a little bit. Okay, let's try that. So if I need it, I got it, more or less. Okay. Here we go. Thanks for hanging in there through the delicate camera work. There we go. All right. Here we go. Some more marker work. So let's think a little bit about this. I'm going in with simple, just 10%. So pretty much anything with tone, it's gonna be on here somewhere. Little bounce light's gonna put some light back up here. So I kind of think one thing maybe I could do is try to go to 20%. Go up a little bit darker. See if I got any 20% left. Yeah, I guess there's a little in here. Use that dark corner. Same with the ceiling. Just pushing this a little bit darker. Oh yeah, Jurassic 5. Sorry, you guys aren't hearing what I'm hearing, but we're going some old school by today's standards. Remember, this is the darkest part back here in the corner of the room. This is almost like where the shadows are. So I'm gonna put a little bit of 20%. soffit light kind of shining down. Put the side of this a little bit. Thinking a little bit about forms now and thinking about the lighting of the room. Side of this cabinet back here is going to be dark. Again, I think this thing is more like a bronze sculpture or something back here, so this thing's going to be pretty dark. A little bit of shadow around the base of these also kind of makes them feel like they're actually resting in the space. The soffit lighting would probably give them a little bit of dimension. I think the back of this thing's going to be Charlie Tuna. Sorry, you guys. You're not hearing what I'm hearing, so sometimes that beat just gotcha. Okay. Working our way. Working our way towards the darker values. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to go one more down. Let's go to 50%. Something with some real bite to it. Now, I don't know how much of this 50% I got left here. Woo! That is dry. I'm not going to refill that thing on stream time. So let's see. What else we got? What else could we do? Give me 1 second. Hold on. All right. I do have a backup. I'm going to go with a 70% gray, but this is going to be dark. So this is, I don't know. This might be too dark. Let's see. Thinking about shadows. Which is like the darkest dark stuff. Kind of looks nice. I would probably much rather be doing this with a 50%, but I am using a 70%. Which is a little darker than I want it, but you think I would have like planned these are shadows, the darkest shadows now. Bit of that couch, maybe a little bit of the backside of this container. The inside of the container. Maybe the insides of the plant. Maybe the core of the plant here a little bit. All right. Welcome in if you're just joining. If you've been with us for a while. We're doing good. We are getting closer. So we're working on this interior space here and kind of working my way a little darker in my values. This is an interior space for our shepherd, sort of a sci-fi shepherd character. This is his home residence or her home residence. This is an entertainment room, the front room, if you will, where you might bring guests into. So it's a little bit of a relaxing space, but at the same time gives us a little bit of a feeling of the kind of residence this shepherd wants to keep and live in. We're just breaking in with some basic values here, but it is a little bit on the futuristic look. So there's a lot more curve shapes here and sort of a more minimal design. I said not a lot of clutter. This is a presentation room. Go a little bit more over here. It's the back of the room. It's a curved wall with a right angle on the front wall. So it's because the overall exterior of the building, which we will come back over here and show, was this sort of circular building with a very futuristic looking texture on the surface, something that would resist weather and be really strong, maybe a laser blast of some sort. So tough, futuristic looking with a lot of skylights, bits of technology. So what we're doing is we're looking at the inside room to this, which came from a previous stream, last stream, where we were working out the floor plan to this multi-storied building. So what we're looking at is a front entertainment room, and it's sort of right angles with a staircase stepping down into this living room space. Dining room is immediately adjacent, office across the hall, but we're looking from pretty much this angle over here, camera 5. So that is our view at this point as we're setting in more and more values. So one of the things I think I'm going to do to help distinguish the outside of the wall and perhaps the perimeter of the exterior having an effect through the windows a little bit is to go in with a cool gray. So let's see here. I'm going to start with a 20% cool gray and see how this thing looks. This is just to help us understand that this is the back wall. Oh boy, this 20% is hosed. Okay, let's try 30 then. There we go. 30 looks a little better. So this is the outside. We're doing a cutaway, and we're adding some set dressings here. And I'll use this slightly cooler gray to show the outside of the room. The wall, if you will. And I'll make this gray too. Same way. It's against the wall. It's touching the wall. Didn't use the dark gray here because this is not touching the wall. So I think the idea is that this liquor cabinet would be against this space here. Might even be kind of cool to do a little bit of the gray in the bottles just to kind of help separate them. Yeah, I like that. It's kind of cool. It's good. All right. Probably some details would help this thing. And I'm really thinking now that this back wall needs to go darker. How the hell am I going to get my 50%? Am I going to have to fill my 50% on camera, which I totally would not have wanted to do? Maybe this. Let's see what this is. This is clay. It's got a lot of brown in it. It's also almost out. Okay, I really came prepared to this party. Sorry about that, guys. I need 50%. I really need 50%. So I think I am going to have to break out the marker pack and refill my 50. There it is. All right. I guess this is a good time for a lesson on filling your markers. If you're someone out there that hasn't done a lot of marker refills, then this is as good a time as any to do it. This is my 30. This isn't bad either. 30 is pretty good. But I still could use maybe a little bit more with the 50. We have to convey that this back wall is sloping away. So I'm going to need something that gets a little darker. 30 is not bad, but it's... By the way, I'm leaving a little bit of these cone-shaped soffit lights. Probably one back over here. Sorry guys, just working here a little bit. Try to push back this wall before I get my 50, just to kind of see how much 50 I'm really going to need. Sorry about that if you're hearing that. All right, let's fill the 50. I gotta find the damn 50. Where is my 50? Here it is. Okay. By the way, keep your little rubber bands always good for marking off which marker needs a refill, so that when you're working, you don't suddenly say, "What? How come there's no marker left?" Okay, so you know, there's probably a procedural way that Copic would tell you to refill these, and I've seen lots of ways people have used like eyedroppers and syringes and stuff like that. But honestly, these are designed to come out. Obviously, when it's wet and full of ink, you don't want to grab this thing because it would just, you know, get all over your hand. There's probably also something to be said with that these marker tips, you know, when you touch them with your hands, you're getting oils and stuff in here, which might not allow the ink to really flow out smoothly. So there's probably a procedural way, but honestly, if you go through them enough, you're just going to be replacing this tip eventually anyway. Everything with the Copic system is replaceable, which is like the greatest thing for it, for the environment, and being conscientious about your tools and materials. Excuse me. The Copic is great for this reason. But literally, if it's dry, because there's no ink, you could just pull it, and then this is where we are going to fill up. I usually pull the chisel side out, not the brush tip. Now, just so you know, this other side is the brush. So as you fill this container, it will start to pool up down here. So you have to be a little careful of that. Okay. So these unscrew. Not a big whoop. Pretty easy, right? Don't squeeze, because as you can see, it will start to bubble up and overflow. Now, you could probably literally just do this, right? And that would probably be okay. But I like to know a little more specifically how much I'm putting in. So I don't know if you guys can see this. Make sure I'm on camera here. Okay, I'm kind of on camera. I'm not going to leave. Don't do this over the artwork, by the way. Good catch. Okay, just in case. You can see that these come out in droplets. So I am literally counting the drops. Okay, that was 86 drops. I usually go about 100, 120. Okay, now, better to underfill than overfill. One thing that happens if you overfill it is it's a big sopping mess, okay? Like it's bleeding out the sides of the marker tip because it's so full. That's a bit much. God, boy, I am just brilliant. I came so well prepared for this. Okay. Getting a paper towel. Okay. Because, you know, you can use your hands, but it stains for a little bit, whatever. I don't care, but good to have a paper towel nearby. Now, don't forget, it's draining inside here, right? So it's starting to run out the other tip. Especially if you overfill it, it will run out the other tip. Another little detail, you see the direction of the chisel tip? That's the same way you want to put it back in. Now, don't press too hard. Ease it in. If you've overfilled it and you press hard here, it's going to come shooting back out. Right? So you're putting it back in. That's good. Water does not clean this, by the way. Only alcohol does. That's what makes the alcohol is the vehicle. The vehicle is the thing that is moving the pigment. So only alcohol will clean all this up. All right, now the other side should start to be pretty wet. In fact, you might even see there, yeah, you can see that it's pretty wet already coming out the other side. Yeah, nice. But I'm actually wanting the chisel tip side too, so I'm going to hold it this way for a minute and let that run down. Okay. Pretty nice looking visual here. We're getting there. We're getting there. Ooh, see? That's exactly what happens when you fill it too much. It starts to just pour out. Too much, too much, too much. So just do this a little bit. Get it flowing, get it flowing. Oh yeah. That's the way a good marker should be flowing. Also, flip it back over. Make sure it's coming out both sides. Yeah. Okay. We're going. I think we're good to try and blend a few things now. Take your scratch paper off to the side. Okay, so I have a few edges here that I just want to try to blend out a little bit. These were 70s and they were a little strong. So I'm sort of blending that edge a little bit. And I think I need a little bit of that also paying attention to my soffits, by the way. So Giving a little dimension to my furniture. Again, some soffit lighting is probably I figured that these will probably have a little tone to them, like slightly darker than the flooring. So I'm hitting these up a little bit. Shadow under here too. All right. Flushing out my plants. I'm going to darken this foreground here a little bit too. Back over to 30%. Push that out a little bit. If you had an alcohol blender, you could do that. They make, blenders which will put more alcohol on the surface and allow you to mix that a little bit better. It's a lot of fine tuning. I don't know that I would do all that fine tuning. Every bit of marker you put on here puts more alcohol, which evaporates, which is why you need more and more to continue to. Okay, so this might be a good time to drop back into this 10%, chunky 10% here now. Because where in the beginning I was a little more hesitant, now I'm pretty sure that most of this ceiling is going to be knocked back a bit. Preserving my soffits again. A little cone of light. And that's the way it is with markers. As you start light and you work to the dark, it's like watercolor. You're working from light to dark. Okay. The nice part about markers, if you go over the top of we'll say a 30% with a 10% marker, it doesn't multiply. It isn't like what you might think of in Photoshop. %10 will not make 30% darker. It may put more alcohol in the surface, might blend some things. So basically you're using your 10% as a blending stick now, but 10% does not make Sorry if the squeakiness, I'm realizing you're probably hearing it more than I am on my mic. 10% does not make anything darker than 10% darker. It just puts more alcohol. If anything, it probably lightens it, thins it out. Okay, this is 20% now. Okay, this is more like blending that I'm doing now. Okay. Not bad. Maybe I could do a little bit of while my 50% is a little bit wet still, hit it with a 20% or a 10% to help blend out those streaks so you don't get so many streaks. This is one of the advantages of working on marker paper, by the way. Marker paper does not leave you the streaks. If you try to work with marker paper or markers on regular bonded paper, you're gonna get streaks, lots of streaks. It has a resist in it, so it doesn't let the marker soak in. But even on marker paper, you can see that if you burnish it enough, it will start to go through and streak a little bit. So the key here, I'm going to use this wider. It will start to streak a little bit. Especially, this is where the recycled marker paper probably will begin to streak a little bit sooner than maybe the higher grade. Just blending, trying to get a little bit more of the smoother ceiling so it's not so distracting. It's looking pretty good. Okay. Now I had some of those mountains outside. So I think I'm going to give myself a little depiction of what's outside these windows. I'll come back, let things dry up a little bit, and do a little bit of coolness coming through. Now on these walls I went darker, but I think the outside I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay in the lighter ranges. So let's start with like just 10%. Again, my soffits are kind of in front of the window, so it's by the way, you can use the cool markers in the shadows as well. In fact, sometimes that can look really nice, and I might even end up doing that. It'd be, you know, cooler grays look good for cooler shadows. Okay. Now, I did have a little bit of some mountains outside. I'm not going to use a black line because I want it to be more atmospheric than that. Let's look back at the drawing. So I'm going to kind of put in the silhouette of some mountains outside. Kind of lighten it as I'm getting towards the bottom. There's one mountain. kind of lightly suggesting that mountain. Okay. Now that I have two tones going with 20%, I'm going to come back in and fill this mountain ever so lightly out here. So it just appears like there is something atmospheric outside the window there, with the idea that the rim is actually probably getting more of the light from outside landing on it from above. Not the inside soffit light, but the outside light is probably illuminating the rim of this thing a little bit more. A little suggestion of some mountains out there. I don't know that I go much different than that. That's maybe just a titch up against the edge here. To make that windowsill look like it's a little bit illuminated, maybe just at the top edge. Suggestion of mountains out there. That's good. It's looking nice. All right. Maybe a little 10%. Just along the top, with the idea that there's a gradient in the sky. Maybe a little 20%. It's almost like you're doing a mini painting. And of course, these mountains, probably be some mountains over here as well. Happy little mountains. All right. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Things are looking good. We're starting to see the forms. We're seeing some dimension, all that perspective stuff really helping out. I think I need to darken this foreground a bit. Just to kind of remember that's in front. A little bit of shadow. There's some areas that are too hot, so I definitely want to knock a few of those things back. So this is 10%. So I'm kind of coming in here and knocking back some of these highlights on this furniture because I don't want the furniture to be glowing hot, but I still want to respect a little bit of the perspective that might be in them. Shouldn't be bright white though, that's for sure. Also need a little bit of this is where you end up pulling a Wolverine because you're constantly switching between these. So a little more. pushing shadows, a little darker here, a little darker there. Slowly building up. I'm going to have one more shelf in over here too, so I kind of think that this whole shelf back here needs to just get pushed back. It's too light, especially for how far away it is. Okay. I think we got to go darker up here. Burnish it in a little bit more. I may need to add some more 30%. This is where the brush pens, I think, are really a nice feature. When you got to do these soft kind of blends and you don't want to necessarily have every value marker that's out there. All right. Well, folks, we're getting towards the end. This has been a long one, but I think it's now I can see some light here, so it's a detailing time now. It's detail time. Little lights and darks here. Okay, to help my wall recede a little bit here, I am going to add a little bit of cool gray, just a little bit, which you probably won't even notice because the value isn't any darker than what we're working with. It's just, it's going to make it go back a little bit because it's got a cooler color temperature. The value is what matters most, so if you don't see a huge difference, that's okay. I'm just trying to take it from monochromatic to maybe duochromatic, and using the cool tone to push the back so it has a little bit of cool gray in it. And I'm only going to do it on that back wall. Cool gray, which mixing with the warm gray isn't going to suddenly be cool, or isn't going to suddenly be, you know, like what you think of as more cool gray. It's just going to take the warm and melt it down a little bit. Make it recede. Not with value, but chromatically, it's going to make it recede. Sorry for the squeaky. Just on the back wall. Just to set it back a little bit. All right. What else would we do? We're getting close, folks. At least for this session. little cleanup. Okay, so where's the lights, right? The soffits are probably going to have probably the brightest part of the picture is going to be the light source, right? So our soffits need a little bit of light on them there. I can imagine some of this the glassware here might have a little bit of Okay, rather than whiteout, I'm going to drop over here and use a good old-fashioned Prisma white for a little bit of my windowsills to have some light on them. Oh, cutaway needs to show a little overlap. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of light on my horizon back here. I'm not even sure you can really see it very much. Probably especially for you guys, but anything that needs okay. So for some detailing, instead of ink, I'm going to go with a classic colored pencil. I'm going to go with good old Prismacolor black for a little bit of textures where I need them. The problem with where we're looking at now is everything has the same textures, right? So it's kind of like trying to blend a few things out. I was also thinking for some of these markers, rather than black, I could also do like a brown or something. Let's try this. So I got a dark brown here, which I'm going to just use a little bit. I have to be careful because this is going to be have color in it. Put a little bit of color in. And actually, I was thinking about doing some orange on these chairs. Although that is pretty bright. That might be better. Might be a little too bright. Colored pencil will allow me to build it up a little bit more without totally committing. Getting a little bit of a point on my orange. Doesn't have to be laser sharp, but I do need to get a little bit. Yeah, that's a little better. I'm thinking about a little bit of color on these couches a little bit. Markers do really well with colored pencil, but you do have to understand a few things about colored pencil. If you do colored pencil over the top, you are not going to be able to do marker over the top of your colored pencil. So you've got to have enough of the marker where you want it. Why? Well, I suppose it depends on the colored pencil, but the wax and the oil-based, if you're using Prismacolor, they're more oil-based, is going to resist. It's going to resist the marker. The alcohol will probably not penetrate the oil base that's in there. So you cannot go over them once you do block them in. I'm going to give them just a little bit of tone. And I don't really know why I'm doing orange, except that I think I've just, something about the orange, it's like color, but it's color within the warm palette. So I don't know. I'm not going to go super heavy, but I'm also going to tone it down a little bit with this brown. Little tiny circles. Little tiny circles, kind of building it up. Little circles, just kind of building it up, building it up. Don't crush the paper, don't press too hard. Maybe where the light hits, it's a little orange, more orange. And again, I'm not fully convinced on the orange, absolutely, but I do want to separate the furniture a little bit. Okay, black. A little bit of blending. This back wall. Cools it down a little bit. I could use a blue too, but I'm going to just use the black a little bit. Just trying to get out the streakiness of the corner. Just softening that blend a little bit. Also gives a little bit of tooth, so you could use it that way too. For me in this case, I'm just softening a little bit of those in between blends. A little bit of those values so that they don't feel like that wall needs to go back. It needs something to help echo the lines. What else could we do here? All right. Well, I'm going to hit this back wall with a little bit of something cooler. I am almost getting there, folks. I got to call this one a night very soon. I think we need something else on this wall to help show us the contour. There's no detail on this wall, I'm realizing, that makes us believe that this curve is happening. Like it could be like some little seam lines, maybe, that are kind of one thing. I'm also thinking now. Is I could do this just to remind us that that's going back there. Let's look at this wall for a second. Take this back up top. The wall is probably doing something like that. I think that's going to be necessary. Okay. Do it in pencil first. Okay. Let's see if that helps. This time I'm going to do this with a little bit of pen. Or I suppose I could do it with the pencil also. Let's see what the pencil does, because I don't want it to be too hard. do some toning lines that are contours. So they're following the contour of the room. Get a little bit of texture there. I like that. Little detail, but little finishing touches now. Little bits of volume wherever I can kind of add it. Okay, one last little thing too. These little gel pens can be great for little bits of tight corners you got to get in. some books back here on the shelf probably, or some sort of little bit of this lateral lines here. Give a little bit of texture and curvature to that wall. I love this. This little detail just is helping the curvature. All right. All right. Well, guys, this is about as far as I'm going to take this, I think. Could use a little bit of light. Little bits of texture outside. Right. A little bit. Just a slight little texture. I don't even know if you guys are seeing this very much, but defines a little more of this. Picturing there would be some sort of downtown or something. Although I'm not really intending to draw much out there. But I'm trying to remind myself that he overlooks the city. It's a little scumbling, just a little soft stuff here. A little definition to the mountain. We are in the wee hours now, folks. And it's about time to wrap this up. I almost wonder if I should go darker gray here. All right. All right. Ooh, yeah. All right, guys. We are way beyond. So I am going to call this one. I have enjoyed this, though. This is long overdue. I have been wanting to get this one out of the bag for a while, so remember, you can catch me out there at Art by Trey Gallaher on Facebook. You can find me out there at Trey Gallaher on Instagram. I'm even on Twitter. Same. My website, of course, treygallaher.com. And don't forget that Discord channel that we talked about. Join up. Stay in touch. Let me know what's going on with you. And maybe if you need any ideas, feedback, comments, or if you want to give me any comments or ideas or feedback, I would definitely appreciate that as well. So I think we're going to call this one Not Bad. Not bad at all. A little bit of a longer one, but you know what? I think we got some really good ground going here, and this is starting to look really nice. I think probably from here, next steps would probably be maybe a little bit of digital touch up, brighten it up, pop it maybe a little bit, try a little bit more color variance, things like that. I think a little bit of, by the way, I'm just softening a little bit of these little areas where there's some darkness that stands out. Little patches where the blend didn't work real good. I'm just softly blending those. Yeah, good times. Fun stuff. But I think we're going to call this one done. So thanks for hanging out with me again. And don't forget to join up on the Discord channel. And remember, I am out here generally on Saturday nights, sometimes Sunday nights. But you can always catch me on YouTube on the replay. Okay? All right. Guys, thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you next time. Draw. Follow your passions. Take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself and be kind to other people. Let's give everybody a extra breath, a little patience. Let's make this place a better place to live, and let's take care of our earth. Okay? We only got one. Love you guys. Have a great week, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.